So this is a big chapter. There's a little bit of theory involved. So if you don't follow from the beginning, you will find it difficult towards the end. There's a lot of calculations. So you have to refresh your statistics. So this is uncertainty is mostly using statistics. So please refresh your statistics for the next class. So today we will see some terms. So we have already seen why we should study the measurement uncertainty. So in order to describe how good is your measurement result, we need measurement uncertainty. Then to compare two readings, two measurement results, you need, is the result significantly different? To decide that, you need measurement uncertainty. So, okay, this is the result is you are comparing with the standard. So, for example, the tensile strength is specified as 100 MPa and you get 99. So, is it significantly different? You have to decide. So, you need to know what is 99. If it is 99 plus or minus 5, then it's okay. Then two measurement results you have to compare. So, comparing the mileages of two cars, etc. This is the example. Is the procedure sufficient? So, you need the required uncertainty, and what is the achieved uncertainty? So if it is less, then the procedure is sufficient. And when you improve the procedure, what will happen? The measurement uncertainty will be reduced. So all this requires evaluation of what is the uncertainty of measurement. So we have to learn how to compute the uncertainty of our measurement. So these are some examples we have seen. For each case, is the result significantly different? How can we compare measurement results? Is the procedure sufficient? What is measurement uncertainty? Then finally, we have defined what is measurement uncertainty. So this is the informal definition. And please note that error and uncertainty are two different things. Error can be zero, uncertainty can be high. Error can be close to zero, can never be zero. It can be very small, but uncertainty can be high, and vice versa also. Uncertainty can be very high, and error can be low. So all this is possible. So there is no connection between the two as per the current VIM, the definitions. The current definitions, these two are different. If you see the old books, they are all mixing up the two. Their error and uncertainty are treated together. For example, Gauss used error and uncertainty in one fashion. I'll show you one more book. It's an interesting book. An introduction to error analysis. That is the title, but the subtitle is the study of uncertainties in physical measurements. See, there they are treating both together. So, which is not correct as per the current standards. So, error and uncertainty are two different things. Then we have seen some examples of how to estimate the uncertainty based on least count, interpolation, repeated readings, then how uncertainty cannot be reduced by systematic error, may not affect uncertainty, but okay, it will affect the compensation. There will be some uncertainty that will be increase the uncertainty. So there is some connection, but okay. So we have seen some examples. Then why ISO 9000 organizations it is necessary to compute the uncertainty, because it says that you have to select the measuring instruments based on the specifications. Okay, so the determined requirements of the product that is given by the designer, and then you have to select the measuring instruments in line with the allowable variation in the requirements. How much tolerance is allowed, accordingly you have to select the measuring instruments. So for ISO 9000 organizations, this is a mandatory requirement. Then, so the current standard on expression of uncertainty measurement was published in 2008, first published in 1995 by several standards bodies together. So ILAC joined in 2005, International Laboratory Accreditation Corporation. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 organizations are joined together to produce this guide to the expression of uncertainty measurement. Then we have seen the measurement uncertainty definition. So it is a non-negative parameter characterizing the dispersion of the quantity values being attributed to a measurement based on the information used. So this parameter can be any parameter. Standard does not say what parameter should be used. You can decide yourself. Okay, so why does uncertainty occur? So why do we get variations in measurement? So the variability in the measurement is the measurement uncertainty. Okay, so if you are getting always the same reading, then perhaps there's no need, there's no measurement uncertainty is zero, but it will never be happen. So unless, of course, sometimes it happens because your least count is too large. Okay, for example, if you have a meter, if you use a meter scale available at the shop, the textile shops, they have the least count is 10 centimeter. And if you use that to measure the length of a table, it will be in between two divisions. You can use interpolation, that's all. But otherwise, it will all be, if you use only up to the least count, it will all be the same reading. So there will be no uncertainty. So, but otherwise, there will always be uncertainty. So uncertainty is caused by instrument, bias, calibration, wear. So all these of the instrument cause uncertainty. Then the object being measured may be unstable, that will change, that causes uncertainty. Incomplete definition, you are not defined properly. For example, I say the length of an object, but at what temperature, I don't say. Then it is incompletely defined. So that again causes uncertainty. So depending on the temperature you measure, at which you measure, you will get different lengths. Then environment, in dimension especially, temperature has an important role. Then operator skill, measuring forces, etc., that cause variability. So maybe in electrical measurements, the contact surfaces, dirt on that, etc., they may cause variation in measurement readings. Then process, the activity of measurement. So where you take the measurement, you are measuring the diameter of a shaft. So at different places on the shaft, you will get, along the length of the shaft at different places, you will get different readings. That means there is some taper or something is there. And again, along the different points along the circumference also, you will get different readings. So where you sample, you will get different values. So that results in measurement uncertainty. Now we'll go into detail. So that is generally about any measurement uncertainty. Now we come to specific sources of error and uncertainty in dimensional calibrations. First is reference standards and instrumentation. So any source, any measuring instrument that has some comparison with a reference standard. Okay, so for example, a micrometer, if you are using a micrometer, that instrument has some uncertainty. And if you are calibrating a micrometer using a gauge block, then the uncertainty of the gauge block will cause some uncertainty in the measurement result. So reference standards and instrumentation, so this is common. The instrument properties will always cause uncertainty. Then in dimensional, very important is temperature. So that is why calibration labs and all are usually thermally controlled, thermally stabilized, air conditioned within, and the temperature variation is, we try to reduce it. Although of course zero variation is impossible. So I have seen one lab at CMTI, Bangalore, Central Manufacturing Technology Institute, Bangalore. So there, the dimensional metrology lab is underground. Okay, you have to go by a lift into the ground, and there they have kept the instruments and all, masters and all. So why? So that because on the surface of the earth, sunlight, radiation, etc. will pass through buildings and all. So it is underground, such effects are very much reduced. So thermal effects are reduced. Radiation or on the walls, etc. are a problem. Then elastic compression. So when you measure with a vernier or a micrometer, you apply some force onto the workpiece. So when the force is present, there will be some elastic deformation. So the dimension changes. So of course, if it is plastic compression, then the part itself is damaged. So that should never happen. But elastic compression is unavoidable because any force, however small, there will be some elastic compression. Plastic compression, if the force is such that the deformations are within the elastic range, there won't be plastic deformation. So elastic compression, we have to take care, should compensate or do something. Then alignment errors. So this is alignment errors. If your scale is misaligned with the workpiece being measured, then there will be a misalignment. So the two lengths will be different. So that will cause uncertainty. Then geometric errors. So the surface itself, so you assume that the diameter of a shaft is circular, but actually it may not be a circle. So there is some geometrical errors can happen. So roundness errors. Similarly, straightness errors along, okay, in the next lab experiment, we'll learn how to measure the straightness along a surface plate. So there are geometric errors. So all those cause uncertainty. Then sources of error and uncertainty in temperature calibration. So what causes error or uncertainty in temperature calibration? So or temperature measurement, everything. So any measurement, of course, the reference thermometer. So you are comparing the temperature with, or you have calibrated your instrument using some reference thermometer. That calibration uncertainty will be added, has to be added first. Then measuring instruments. For example, if you are using a thermocouple, the voltmeter will be, it's a measuring instrument there, the microvoltmeter used. Or if you are using mercury in glass thermometer, the scale reading is the measuring instrument. Then further inferences, drift since calibration. So this is a common problem in temperature measurement. After calibration, at the time of calibration, error may be something, but slowly what will happen? So thermocouple and all the material may be in a corrosive environment. Even in normal atmosphere, there will be some corrosive elements, and slowly rust will start to form, and some reactions will take place inside the wires. So the composition gets changed, the voltage developed gets reduced, etc. So this causes drift. So drift is slow movement. So like water, like a piece of wood floating on the river. It's slowly moving. So similarly, the instrument voltage developed will slowly come down. So drift since calibration. So how long is it since you have calibrated? That is an important parameter in determining the uncertainty of temperature calibration. Then resolution, so least count, that is there always, any instrument, the least count. Then temperature gradients, so variation, slow variation along the object being measured. So if you are measuring the temperature in a room, you may have different temperatures at different parts of the room. Okay, suppose you want to test an AC. How will you test the performance of an air conditioner? So you fit it inside a cabin and run the AC for some time. and then you measure the temperature. But near the AC, the temperature definitely will be lower. Slightly away from the AC, temperature will be left. So they are temperature gradients. So temperature measurement. So how small is the chamber? For smaller chamber, the gradients will be smaller. So all this will affect uncertainty in temperature measurement. Self-heating. So when current passes through the wires may get heated up. So even thermistors, not thermistor, resistance thermometers, especially this is important. So resistance thermometers, we are using the change in resistance to monitor the temperature change. So if current flows, the wire gets heated up, resistance changes, so that affects your causes uncertainty in measurement. Causes error, which causes uncertainty. So, okay, that's what error and uncertainty, there is some connection between them, but we can't say whether error increases, uncertainty decreases, or vice versa. Contributions of thermometer to be calibrated. So you have seen our constant temperature bath. So you are using that to calibrate a mercury in glass thermometer. So when you dip the mercury in glass thermometer into the bath, what will happen? It will absorb heat from the bath and it will cool down the bath slightly. So that causes uncertainty. Or vice versa. If you are going for a lower temperature, lower than room temperature, then heat will be absorbed from the thermometer into the bath. So either of that will cause uncertainty. Then mathematical interpretation. So to convert the voltage to temperature in a thermocouple and all, we use various equations. And even for resistance thermometers also, platinum resistance thermometer also, there is an equation which relates the resistance to the temperature. So all that we have equations. So actually, if you go for, you can have some 20, 30 terms in that equation. But normally we choose only 2 or 3 terms. So if you have whatever the terms you are not considering, that results in an uncertainty. Okay, so these are all as per the UKS M3003. So I think I have given a link in the Edu server. So please go through that for detailed explanation. Please read this chapter through the small pages. So please go through those pages. Okay, so that is about temperature calibration. Then mass calibration, source of error and uncertainty in mass calibrations. So once again, so masses are usually calibrated by comparison. You have a standard mass, standard weight box. So in the shopkeeper, they use standard weights, and they have a balance. So one side you have the unknown quantity, other side you have the reference weight. So the calibration of the reference weight, how much uncertainty is there, that is the one source of uncertainty. Then secular stability of reference weights. So this is, of course, this is the, okay, you should see this video, world's roundest object. Okay, I think it's a very interesting video. So there were 6 kilograms were there, standard kilograms. The masses, when they compared later, they found it to be different. So that is the secular stability of secular stability of reference weights. So reference weights themselves, we don't know. Actually, even now we are not sure why it has changed, but something has happened. Okay, so that is the stability of reference weights. Then weighing machine / weighing process. So how we are doing, maybe vibrations, etc., which machine you use. So the 2 sides are not equal, etc. All these can result in mass uncertainty. Air buoyancy effects. So what is air buoyancy effect? Okay, there's an interesting question. So which is heavier? 1 kilogram of iron or 1 kilogram of cotton? So can you write in the chat box? Which is heavier, 1 kg of iron or 1 kg of cotton? So I told 1 kg is the unit of mass. But weight is actually force. So 1 kg mass is not of same weight. They are not of the same weight. Why? If they are weighed on the earth, unless, okay, as long as they are weighed on the earth, there will always be air buoyancy effects. So what will buoyant force do? So for large objects, the buoyant force will be larger. So they will slightly reduce the force. So weight is a force. So what is the unit of weight? Okay, unit of weight is Newton, unit of mass is kilogram. So there used to be a lot of confusion. Earlier we had the MKS system. So when I was a student, we studied MKS system. So according to that, unit of mass is kilogram, unit of weight is kilogram force. So there was total confusion. So that's what, even scientists, engineers, everywhere there was confusion. So for many practical purposes, it is equal. That is why. But once the accuracies required became more, then the inaccuracies caused by these definitions, mix-up of definition, created a lot of problems. So then we had to redefine force and all. That's why the SI system, they decided to go for a different unit for force. So air buoyancy effects cause uncertainty in mass calibration. So depending on the atmospheric pressure, which depends on weather. So sometimes suddenly we'll have a depression, so low atmospheric pressure. So then the calibration, the calibrated mass changes. Okay, the weight changes. So if you're comparing the weights, usually we compare the weights. And then if the volumes are same, it will not be affecting. But if the volumes are different, then buoyant forces will be different. Then, for example, in our deadweight pressure gauge tester in our lab, so when calibrating pressure gauges, we have to correct for the air buoyancy effects. Of course, only for high accuracy gauges it is important. But normally in our lab experiments, we don't consider this. Then environment, maybe vibration, or even suppose you are weighing, say, on the aeroplane or in a rocket. You can think of so many environments, how they may affect mass calibration. Okay, so these are the sources of error and uncertainty.